Dr. Gunn stands as a pivotal bridge between the complex world of bioscience and the public understanding essential for its advancement. She's the originator and host of Biotech Nation, an influential and hugely popular audio platform that translates complex bioscience information into understandable narratives. She's conducted more than 1,000 interviews with scientists, biotech CEOs, and investors, making an often opaque world eminently clear and understandable. Here to talk about translating scientific discovery into real-world health solutions is Dr. Moira Gunn. Dr. Gunn, welcome.
Technology is the silent partner of history. I mean, if you look back, we talked the wheel, control of fire, but then, like medieval times, you built your castle, you're good. They can come up as much as they want, but then over the hill, you're like, what's that? Oh, darn, it's a catapult. It's like, who saw that before? So the technology keeps changing, we keep changing, adapting, and that's where we're headed here. So every shift in technology is a pivot for those who are affected. And in today's fast-paced world, every major pivot is global. And every major pivot affects humanity now. We no longer make a change and it's just us, it's everybody. So the major pivot I'm talking about today is biotech. Now, Randy asked me, said, you need to get in there and tell you a few things about yourself. And I said, well, okay, and I have a BS and MS in computer science. Then I became the first woman from Purdue to get a PhD in mechanical engineering. Worked at NASA in large-scale computation and satellite image processing, and in the private sector in robotic engineering systems, and even with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I have a patent in human nutrition research. And frankly, I'm just interested in things. That's why I kept like, well, this is interesting, let's do this. Well, that's interesting, let's do that. And then in 1993, I started Tech Nation, which is a public radio show at KQED in San Francisco. You may have heard of it. It's the largest public radio station. And we're distributed on NPR affiliates and global distribution. And I think everybody in this room knows about Car Talk. Well, the Car Talk boys, they started theirs at WBUR in Boston. And we're all under contract to NPR, but you'll never hear NPR's Car Talk or NPR's Tech Nation. We're all independents, and so they like us and we like them, but we still have all the control in the world. And that let me decide in 2004, here I'm sitting in San Francisco, which is, we all know about Silicon Valley and all the technology, and I just kind of didn't look right down in South San Francisco. Here's one of the world's largest bioclusters, and it's where biotech began. And I said, oh, well, let's add Biotech Nation. Let's do that. So I was able to do that, and we just got instant distribution. And then now academics and media for me started to run in parallel. And in 2006, I joined the faculty of the University of San Francisco. And by 2009, I started adding bioentrepreneurship to the graduate curriculum. That's everything from the lab bench to a registered product. That's where all the risk is. That's where all the excitement is, sort of from my days at NASA. And it's like, I don't really care about manufacturing or sales or any of that. I want to say, what are they building now? What's next? What do they have in the hopper? And so we served MBAs, JD MBAs, Masters in Information Systems. And then by 2012, over came the College of Arts and Sciences and the bio department, and they said, we want to do a master's in biotechnology, and we want to add your courses to our master's in biotech. And I said, I'm going to throw the scientists in with the MBAs. This is going to be fun. And with the lawyers, it was really fun. But it really helped me. I was not just influenced by the Biotech Nation segment. The teaching and interacting with the challenges of everyone talking together also came along and influenced how I would do things on the radio. So today, professor and director of bioentrepreneurship at USF and host of Tech Nation and its segment Biotech Nation on NPR affiliates. And now, of course, we've got a complement of podcast venues, or as we like to say, anyone, anywhere can listen to us. Times have really changed over the 30 years we've been producing the show. And then Randy put this in the program, $1.55 trillion world of biosciences. And I had to laugh, because people kept coming up to me last night and the night before going, what is this 1.55 trillion? Is there really that many dollars? I go, well, the silly thing is it comes up in two ways. Here's the first one, and that is in all sectors, if we take all of biotech, which isn't just the biopharmaceuticals and diagnostics and all those things that are going on. But in the United States, we have genetically modified food. All of our soy is genetically modified. Many of our vegetables are. But our potatoes, don't spend $1 more a pound over at the organic potatoes. Got news. None of them are genetically modified. Just buy the cheaper one. That would be the way to go. But all over the earth. Actually, all of us remember there was a time when suddenly it was so terrible to put our liquid into our washing machines because it was being bad for the water supply and all of that. Well, biotech solved that with enzymes that would clean your laundry and then dissolve back into natural ingredients. So that was no longer a problem as it had been for years. So we see it again and again. This is one people's representation of the market, and they separated out bioinformatics for some reason. We don't know why. But basically 60-65% of the world's revenue of biotech sector is $1.6 trillion, just over the 1.55. And then biopharmaceuticals, which is just a part of that, is part of the global biotechnology industry. And that, the global biopharmaceutical technology industry is $1.6 trillion also. So it's like, pick any number you want. Randy's right. We got the right number here. Now, the thing that's interesting is that biopharma today is about a quarter of the big pharma industry. And as it turns out, our biggest and one of the first biopharmaceutical companies was Genentech. And Genentech today is still Genentech, but it's wholly owned by Roche, one of the top 1, 2, or 3 pharmaceutical firms in the world, depending on the year, because they sell and they buy things and revenues change a bit. And so the global pharmaceutical industry is using the biopharmaceuticals as sort of their R&D. You can't pick up the paper or look online or look at any of the investment and not say, oh, so-and-so bought this company for this amount of money. It's their R&D, and they invest in, and they give small amounts of money to, small by their standards, and that's what they're looking. So that relationship between biopharma and pharma is very important to understand, because why develop a manufacturing facility? Why develop sales and marketing? Not really necessary. So what are biopharmaceuticals? Really important to understand. This is the simplest explanation. It is not complete, but it is accurate as far as it goes. And that is traditional pharma we think of as pills. Now, yeah, you go in and you have to get a shot or something, but mostly we're getting pills, and these are called small molecules. In biopharma, we usually have to get infusions or injections, and these are large molecules. Now, you can bet if you can figure out something that a large molecule can do is small enough, you can make it a pill. That's a really good business move, but mostly biopharma is large molecules, infusions, or injections. And I'll show you what it's like. If you look up, this is the chemical structure of 2 drugs that you know, aspirin for one off the shelf, and the other is Ozempic. Now, aspirin is so small, it's a small molecule, that we don't even get the biological version of it. They chemically synthesize this, so we get the chemical version of it. They can stamp it out one right after the other. We can take aspirin. Very clean, very simple. But Ozempic is so big, our medicinal chemistry can't make it into a chemical. I mean, they can make it into a pill, but your stomach acid, it'll never get to your system. And that's why people on Ozempic, once a week or however often it is, they take a little jab. The amazing thing is they've been doing a lot of injections in Europe for many years. It's not a problem. In the United States, from a marketing standpoint, has not been popular. Seems to me we're getting a little change in attitude now that with all the GLP-1 drugs. So that's different, biopharma versus pharma. We're still looking to biology to change our state of what we're doing. So how does this fit in honoring our past, creating our future? And this is from the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturing Association, and it's telling us 74% of medicines in clinical development are potentially first in class, nobody ever tried it with this kind of technology, possibly a possible new pharmacological class. What is that class? Biopharmaceuticals. Here they are. We look right down the line. The percentage that are looking at in bio, 79% for cancer, 73% for cardiovascular, go right down the line. In the 70s, or Alzheimer's, 86%. Looking for solutions in this larger molecule area. Now that we understand DNA, we understand a whole lot more about the body. Here's the visual representation. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You need all of those to finally get approved by the FDA. Look at phase 1. 82%, there it is in the green, biopharmaceuticals. Then you get to phase 2, that's longer and stronger, if you will. Got to figure out more things. Then it's 72%. Then you get to phase 3, and it's, half, it's like, But then finally at the end, it's only 44%. And that is because that orange is the traditional pharmaceutical that we know so much about. A lot of those are Me Too or Me Slightly Different. We have a lot more background in it. The odds are you're going to get that through, but it won't do what the pharmaceutical is. Now, we all remember the pandemic, and we had 3 vaccines. We had 2 which were called mRNA, which was Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech, and the other was Johnson & Johnson, the same old trusty vaccine. Now, what they did with the mRNA vaccine is they took a little bit of that spike protein, decoded it, and said, okay, how do we make this? Now remember, everybody here knows they got DNA. Well, to execute that DNA, you had to take a little bit of that, and whatever your DNA is, you've got it really is a series of programs, like on your phone, and it just picks out that, converts it to mRNA. mRNA executes, creates a protein. So instead of worrying about your DNA, it gave you the mRNA that created that little portion of the spike protein, a decoy, so that when COVID showed up, it said, we've already seen you, we've already got antibodies against you. So what did it do? It was basically 100% coverage. But then with the standard vaccine from Johnson & Johnson, 66% coverage. What happens then is the spike protein, it mutates. And it's like, uh-oh, now what do we do? It's like, it doesn't work anymore. You have to make a new mRNA vaccine. But Johnson & Johnson, still 66% effective. So feeling lucky? It's all about what you want to do here. So these are the differences between these kinds of drugs. So we're talking about building biopharma today, but it's not easy. It's got innate risk. Success is not predicted from the outside set. There's a lot of things that could happen. You need a creative, entrepreneurial organization, and you have to deal with unprecedented things. More importantly today, to get to the FDA from that lab bench, it takes 12 to 15 years to get through all those phases. Only 12% of the compounds make it. $1 to $2 billion of investment. $1 billion if you have it, $2 billion if you need somebody to give it to you, and $3.2 billion to average all attempts. Only 1 out of 9 drugs make it. This is not a great place to go and just make money. If you want to do that, we got a lot of other places. Call the business school. They really know how to make money there. Why do people do it? Because they can alleviate human suffering, because they can delay or avert mortality, because they can change people's lives. That's why they're in it, and this is the way we can get those drugs. So now let's get to Biotech Nation as we have it today. I believe that everybody would want to know about this. Biotech interviews, we can make them compelling and understandable to the mainstream audience. But the hard part, biotech CEOs and chief scientific officers, CSOs, must be able to talk about it in plain English. That was a challenge. Now, I think many of you may remember C.P. Snow. He was a scientist, a novelist, and much more. And in 1959, he gave the University of Cambridge famous Reed Lecture about the two cultures. It went on to become an essay, and then it became a book. You can even get it today. He talked about the gulf of mutual incomprehension between the sciences and humanities. So I was sitting there going, we got science and we got the mainstream audience. Holy moly, what was I thinking, you know? And it didn't take many interviews for I recognized that gulf. I'd seen it before at NASA because I had degrees in science and engineering. So I had a little tiff with an engineer. She said, oh, she's a scientist. A little tiff with the scientist. Oh, she's an engineer. Two different ways of thinking and looking at the world. How do you bring them together? So what's everybody's favorite topic? Come on. Know this, know it for the rest of your life. Themselves, you know. So I had to find a way to talk about biotech that had to do with everybody. And that's what we did. Why? And then why would they want to listen? Because biotech can bring hope to them, to those they care about. I don't care who you are. It happens to me, it's like, well, the medicine hasn't quite gotten there for you. Like, oh no, is it coming down the pike? And how is it? How do we help it come down the pike? How do we do this? When can we expect it? Can we participate? What was it that Steve said earlier? It goes, well, I wanted to join this study, but they couldn't get enough people to do it. You know, changing our attitudes there and understanding it. So now to get on Biotech Nation, there's a pre-interview, a story development Zoom, and I'll tell you, you know, when Chris Ball was up here, he said, Humira. We're like, oh, we all know Humira. And then he goes, Adubalamab. And then later on, I thought, okay, well, he's done with the Adubalamab. And he says Humira again, but he couldn't help himself. Chris couldn't help himself. He said, that's Adubalamab, you know. And it's like, can you imagine if the talk was on Humira? You know, it would be again and again. And I saw this all the time. These people come in and they want to talk about these names. And finally, one French firm says, well, yeah, and I want to talk about the name of my drug and blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm like, okay, what's the name of your drug? And they say, Monalizumab. I went, Monalizumab? You can say that name anytime you want. That's a great name. And that MAB, that M-A-B, monoclonal antibody. So it means something scientifically, but to your ear, Monalizumab is just the Mona Lisa. Makes it really good. Then sometimes we do a second Zoom, then we do the recording, and I go through what I think the questions and answers are, and finally we get to the recording, which is then edited. A lot of work, and hats off to the guests who participate. But we have to get it so everything is, you don't stop. If you hear words you don't know, you will stop and kind of miss things. And then the second time, forget it. And I got to run through slides here. Why is this worthwhile? Well, we're looking at speedy interventions for heart attacks. Right here in Florida, they're doing a study in ambulances. In the first hour or so of the heart attack, an injection, or actually they just put it in your IV line, if they come with you for an ambulance, of just glucose, insulin, and potassium. And this is an amazing, amazing first act. That's all that is. But it changes the outcome of heart attacks. Euphoria-suppressing opioids, it turns out that part of the reason we're getting people addicted is they get a euphoria, that's only about a quarter of the people, and another quarter, when that overlaps with an addictive personality, we're getting the addiction. How did they figure out what was euphoria generating? Because we don't know. There's a set of people who are not addicted to it, but they get the euphoria, and they have these euphoria parties on weekends. So they gave them all these combinations. They're like, that's terrible. Oh, that's great. It's like, so you never know how science is going to go. Insulin cells without immunosuppressants. Right now, you've got to do it. We're in the final stages in California with San Biotechnology on that. Investments, I'm going to go over time, with quadriplegics, now called tetraplegics, that they, in fact, if a friend of mine, he was in Vietnam, he flew helicopters, and then he was sleeping on the top bunk of a group place. Viet Cong came in, set off a bomb. He found himself halfway across the room on the floor. He has no hearing. Right now, the U.S. Air Force is using a compound from Canada, which is restoring hearing 50% in some of their pilots. And they think the longer it is out, the better it's going to be. Early detection of bed sores. Bed sores kill 15,000 people a year. They can do it early before anything happens. And getting a single protein to preterm babies that first week, they can avoid intubation because they just got to get it in there. Very exciting. And of course, AI, which all I'm going to tell you is the good news about biotech. AI generates something, they can take it in the lab. Biotech is also worthwhile as an exercise in humanity helping humanity. And here's the global bioclusters that work on it. I was very pleased that with LEAP, they showed you the map of their contracts. If you follow all the lines, it's the same places. It happens to also be where when we split out Biotech Nation on podcasts, that's where they go. And of course, in the United States, here's our bioclusters here. And for the biotech industry to be able to speak science in plain English has other benefits. This happens to be the innovation expertise that you need in a biotech company, from science and science tech, intellectual property, venture capital, all the way around law, finance, all of these. They need all of these at the same time. We never know when we need what. Regulatory, ethics, multinational expertise. We're only talking about every human on the planet here. At USF, our biotech students learn to speak Spanish in plain English. And so I've changed the model for them. Right in the middle is communication. The bottleneck here is the science people. They're like, you learn French. No, you learn French. It's a different language. Come over to our side. We can do it. You can do it. Right now I'm coaching guests one at a time and classes one at a time to go through this so that they know who's finance. Everybody can talk to each other. You know you need that on a team, and it's been really, really terrific. So I'm into getting everybody to speak science, and because science is the oxygen of biotech. Thank you very much.